Good day, learners. My name is Dr. Efo Owagurai from the Department of Zoology and Environmental Biology. I'm here to take you GNS 103, History and Philosophy of Science. I'm not the only lecturer involved in this particular course. Other lecturer with me are Dr. Hoho Olubanwu, Dr. He Ibikunle, Mr. H.T. Oladunjoye, Dr. R.T. Feishola, Dr. O.H. Banjo, Dr. O.M. Ajibade, and Dr. O. Atewolara Odule. History and Philosophy of Science is a 2-unit compulsory course for all royal level students towards acquiring a Bachelor of Science in any faculty and department of the university. The course is divided into 8 study sessions. Study session 1 talks about the origin and nature of man. Study session 2 is about scientific methodology needed to become a good scientist. Study session 3 is titled The Chemical and Radioactive Hazard Man May Be Exposed to. Study session 4 discusses the renewable and non-renewable energy. Study session 5 focuses on waste and waste management concept. Section 6 discusses the microbial evolution, while section 7 and 8 based on man and his cosmic environment and the environmental effects of chemical plastic respectively. So let me quickly take you through study session 1. So let me quickly summarize study session 1. So origin and nature of man. There exist several theories. There are several theories on the origin of living organisms, including man. Of course, even the evolutionists claim that man evolved from ape-like creature without adequate knowledge of the nature of man was a major issue then. However, of course, most of these theories or claims have been proven to be wrong. So at the end of this session, learners, you should be able to state and explain the theories proposed to explain the origin of life on Earth. Review evolutionists' claim that man evolved from ape-like creation and not exactly from ape. You should be able to also highlight the scientific evidences proposed for the ape-like creature ancestry of man, explain the theories of origin of man, and you should be able to also explain the nature of man from the scientific and religious point of view. So before taking a look at the origin of man per se, let's take a look at the theories that were proposed to explain the origin of life on Earth. The following theories were proposed: the theory of special creation, theory of spontaneous generation, theory of catastrophisms, theory of cosmozoic, theory of eternity of life, and chemical evolution. So let me quickly summarize the theories for you. The theory of special creations assumes that life was created by supernatural power, which is God, and Christians believe that God actually created everything, created the earth, the universe, including man, for 6 working days. And not only Christian believe, also some other religions believe that God actually created the whole earth and everything in it. But scientists try to disprove this particular theory of special creation by saying that the theory was based on solely based on belief, and there was no evidence to back the claim or this particular assumption to back it up. So as a result, the theory was not really given adequate attention then. Now the second theory is the theory of spontaneous generation or abiogenesis. So this theory believes or assumes that non-living materials through spontaneous manner give rise to life, which means is a way of saying that living things emanated from non-living things. that is the theory of spontaneous generation. This theory was proven by J.B. Helmont. J.B. Helmont in the year 1600. J.B. Helmont said in his experiment that if soil lining, wheat, everything was placed together in a jar, and in a jar was put together in a jar and covered, that mice will come out of it. Yes, and over the years, well, this theory was widely believed then, but some scientists came out to disprove the theory afterward, such as Francesco Redi in the year 1650. In his experiment, he said maggot can only come out of living fly and not from lifeless meat. We also know the experiment of Lazzaro Spallanzani, his vegetable broth experiment. We also disproved this particular theory. Then the final experiment that actually laid this particular theory to rest was the theory of Louis Pasteur in the year 1864. Yeah. So when he noted that living bacteria can only come out of living bacteria, and that was this theory was laid to rest. Now the theory of catastrophism is an extension of the theory of special creation. Yeah, it's an extension of this theory of special creation. It's believed that life was created, and but followed by a catastrophe event, or as a result of or due to geographical disturbances, and which destroy the whole life, and after which life was recreated. So each catastrophe event, or catastrophism, or destruction and recreation, led to the generation of new organisms. And but again, no scientific evidence to prove this particular theory, and the theory was not really given much added attention. Then the theory of cosmozoic, or also known as theory of panspermia or spore theory. This theory is believed, or it assumes that life forms, forms in a resistant spore, okay, in Earth from another planet. That is, a resistant spore travel from another planet onto the Earth and give rise to life. Because then, of course, the environmental condition of the Earth support the spores. Then the spore grew, and the spore produced life. That was the theory of cosmozoic. But there were some questions that this particular theory could not answer, and there was some doubt, such as how can that resistant spore, travel through the space? Can the spore survive the journey through space? That's one. And also, the mechanisms of interplanetary journey from other planets to the Earth. The mechanism could not be explained, and they don't even know they don't know anything about the spores. And moreover, then that no evidence of life existence in another planet other than Earth. So all these questions put together disprove this particular theory. Now the next theory is the theory of eternity of life, where this theory believes that life has no beginning and it has no end. That life exists and it will keep on existing forever. So this theory doesn't even believe that there's any question or anything on the origin of life. No, but of course this theory fails to answer a particular question, and the question is, okay, now Earth was created or appeared, and life appeared in Earth. Now the question is, were there life before Earth, before Earth, or before the existence of Earth? That's the question this particular theory fails to answer. So The next theory is the chemical evolution, the theory of chemical evolution, where this theory uh, proposed that uh, uh, life emanated from non-living chemical. Yes, life emanated from non-living chemical, which is hydrogen, in 4 different stages. Because let me quickly run through. The first stage happens to be, uh, there was a cloud of hydrogen, and after which the hydrogen form some compound containing hydrogen, such as methane, ammonia, water, and all that. That was stage one. Then in stage two, that okay, the compound or the element from stage one form some kind of they react together to form some molecules, organic molecules required for life. Molecules such as sugars, such as nucleotide, such as amino acid. So these molecules are they are required for life. Then that is that. So the formation of this molecule is what really happened in stage two of this chemical evolution. Then the stage three happens is stage three is the stringing together of these molecules. I mean the reaction of all these organic molecules required for life to form larger complex ones, such as for instance sugar combined together. You have several sugars combined together to form starch, that is polymer. You have the amino acid combined together to form polypeptides or protein, while the nucleotide form the DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid. So all these compound, this larger complex polymer in stage three, the starch, DNA, protein, they were referred to as the protocells of life. So in stage four of the of this theory now believe that okay, by chance, when I mean by chance, I mean without human intervention, without anything, that suddenly or accidentally the protocells of life, that is the starch, the protein, the DNA, will transform to a living cell or a living cell. So uh, now the question now is, some scientists believe that is there anything chance or by chance or miracle in this transformation? What is the mechanisms of transformation? So this theory could not explain the mechanisms of of transformation of these protocells into protocells of life into a living cell. So and that was how this theory was later disproved. Even some scientists, I know Dr. Crick, then he even gave a suggestion that even life must have been seeded into the ocean by some supernatural power. That. So several theories. So let's take a look at uh, now. Having said this, now the question is, man, where what is the origin of man? That's the question now. Okay, the question on the origin of man from all this theory. Okay, so but evolutionists believe that man originated from ape-like creation. What I mean ape-like, not really ape, but ape-like creation, or a beast. Apes mean Pithecus, that is tailless monkey. They believe that man evolved from ape-like creation, and the evolution occurred in Asia and Africa. When I mean, because the fossil that gave the evidence. Fossil means fossil is just the remains or impression of a uh, past or ancient life, naturally preserved in some medium such as mud, sand, ice pits, even rock. So because they found those fossils then in this area, Asia and Africa, so that was said, okay, uh, human evolution occur in this area. So they believe that human evolution occur from ape-like. Man evolved from ape-like creatures, in Asia and Africa. So, but if we are saying that, okay, man evolved from ape-like creation, there should be some evidence to show that, oh, this or man evolved from ape-like creation. Now, that was what the task of the paleoanthropologists, they were looking for some evidences. When I mean paleoanthropologists, I mean those scientists that study human and pre-human fossil records. Paleoanthropologists, from paleo, paleontology is the study of a fossil. I mean, is the study of a ancient life or past life based on fossil records. So, but paleoanthropology is the study of human and pre-human fossil records. So those who study this, we refer to them as paleoanthropologists. So they were the one, they were looking for some scientific evidence for the ape ancestry of man, and there are some evidences they put forward, but we don't know how convincing the evidence. So, but some of the evidences are, they were looking at erect walking or bipedalisms, because man, we had the true bipedal, we walk erect, that is hominid. Okay, also they also look at the skull size and the cranial capacity. For in man, in woman, the cranial capacity is 1,350 centimeter cube, while in man is 1,500 centimeter cube. So they compare this cranial capacity and the skull size to that of the ape. Also the dentition. You look at the dentition, the teeth arrangement, the dental arcade is parabolic in human, but it's U-shape in apes. So also the eye socket in human, while the socket is widely spaced. And also they also consider the shape of the jaw, even the position of the foramen magnum, the position of the foramen magnum, the angle at which the canine entered the jaws. These were the evidence they put forward. They were searching for them. But let's take a look at some striking features unique to man. Okay. Out of all this evidence, what are the unique features that can be found only in a man? And the feature is erect posture, the true bipedal movement. Man are known to be the true hominid. They walk erect, Also increase in cranial capacity and intelligence, broadening of forehead and vertical elevation, stereoscopic vision, reduction in the size of penile, chin formation, increase in mobility of neck to see round, and the reduction in body hair, development of curves in vertebral column for erect posture, increase in height, and all that. But also we also need to mention the length of the forelimbs, the length of the forelimbs compared to that of the hind limbs, the legs and the arm. In man, the legs is longer than the arm. Okay, but unlike in other apes, in the proposed ape ancestor, they have the arms, or the arms longer than the legs. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the according to fossil, or from fossil record, the following species were proposed or were put forward to be the ancestor of man. Let's take a look at you can see the pit down man, Nebraska's man, Ramapithecus, Ardipithecus, that is the common Adi, the Australopithecus species, the Homo habilis erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, the Neanderthal man, the Homo florescensis, the Hobbit, and Homo sapiens, the Cro-Magnon man, and also the other one, Homo sapiens sapiens. Okay, that's the modern man. So let me quickly run through this. The first two, the Piltdown man and the Nebraska man, like I say, is a kind of it was a mistake, because Piltdown man in 1912 some paleoanthropologists discovered the skull and the jaw of some species, and when they put together, they said, oh, they've been able to discover the ancestor of man, and it was named Pit Down Man because it was discovered in Pit Down there, and that is Anthropus dawsoni. So, but everything was later found to be a kind of elaborate hoax, to deceive humans. The second is Nebraska's man in 1922, when they also discovered the skull, the bones, the remains of some, or the fossil record of some species, and they put together, they said, oh, they have found the ancestor of man. And but 5 years later, that's 1927, when the full skeleton of the animal was discovered and put together, it was noted that, oh, is this particular species kind of it was actually an extinct pig. So I don't know how we say an extinct pig would be the ancestor of man. Then people were curious. Scientists then were curious. Even though you see they found the bone of a rat, they can say, oh, they found the ancestor of a man. So they also proposed Ramapithecus. Of course, Ramapithecus was the branch of the first branch, of ape line to evolve into man. But because of the tooth size and the not only the tooth size, the dentition, the dental arcade, U shape that is specific to apes. So, and also the primitive nature of this particular species, so that cannot be the ancestor of man. But what it was proposed then that the Ramapithecus is the ancestor of man. Also, the Ardipithecus ramidus, the common hardy, where it was this species surviving in woodland of East Africa, and of course, like 4 inches tall, where hardy walk erect, he carry food on his arm, but what is there is that this particular species also shows some primitive features, such as prehensile toe, living on tree, that is arboreal and all that. So also the Australopithecus species, there are several Australopithecus. The one found in Afar in Ethiopia. That's Australopithecus afarensis, commonly known as Lucy. You also have the Australopithecus africanus, the slender one, then the more bigger one, robust one, that's Australopithecus robustus. You also find the Australopithecus in Tanzania, even in Kenya. That's Australopithecus anamensis. So different species of Australopithecines, and the Lucy, that's the afarensis one. It was believed that Lucy was the ancestor of man, because of some features. They share some features, such as, because this Lucy was heavily built leg, but if you take a look at the skull, the shape of the skull, reduced skull, and protrude face and all that, several features. Also the length of the arm compared to leg, and so all these features put together to disprove the claim that Australopithecus is the ancestor of man. So the Homo habilis, scientists believe that Homo habilis is part of Australopithecus. The species, just like Australopithecus, but but has a large brain size compared to Australopithecus, because the reason is that the diet of this species is more, because the species change diet from more from herbivores to carnivores, so it's more carnivorous. So because these feed more on brains, flesh, protein, and that, give room for more brain development. So, and uh, but also it also has some primitive features, such as surviving on trees and all that. So also the Homo Homo erectors, well, this species also show more some advanced feature over Homo habilis, more large brain size when compared to Homo habilis. Even Homo erectus was believed to be the first species to migrate out of Africa. Yes, the first species to migrate out of Africa. Then what other feature? Ability to use tools. Well, this feature was noted in habilis, but more pronounced in erectors. To use tools. The Homo erectus, it was noted to be hunter. They were a great hunter, because in fact they were the first to use trajectory weapons. So they hunt elephants, and they can run. They can run elephant, run anything down. They run antelope, they run them down, and just like I said, they were the first to migrate out of Africa, and they were the first to tame fire. To tame fire. Others ran from fire, but erectors tamed fire. So that means they it was perceived that this species cooked their food, and so that result in reduction in their tooth size. Yes, because they don't feed on tough meat or a tough heavy food. But now, because the food has been cooked, so they feed on soft food and all that. So that resulted in reduction of their tooth size, and also, but one major features in these Homo erectus is that they have a very massive skull, very large skull, brain size, and big jaw. So what other features of this particular Homo erectus? But of course they can use tools, but they also the length of their leg is I mean, the length of their arm is more far later compared to that of their leg. Okay, so the Homo neanderthalensis, that's Neanderthal man. Neanderthal man, this particular species was noted. The record of this Neanderthal man has been since the days of Charles Darwin. This was discovered in 1856. Yes, I think 1856, when a school teacher just discovered the bones of this. So, but of course, let me just give you a few features. The Neanderthal man was heavily built, very strong leg, arm, and all those things. So with very large brain, even more than that of man, 1,600 cubic centimeter. Okay, so but one major thing there is that it was believed that this Neanderthal man, they suffer from arthritis, so that affected their spine, and that bent their posture, so they could not really walk erect. Okay, they could not really walk erect. But other than that, in fact, they believe that they were the real man, or the ancestor of man then. Okay, even the erectors, Neanderthal, and Australopithecus, they believe that for 1,000 years they lived together. Okay, and even the floresiensis and sapiens, they live together. Okay, so Homo floresiensis is well, commonly known as Hobbit, recently discovered in the cave around the Indonesia island of in Indonesia. So also the Homo sapiens. Well, Homo sapiens, they also have some advanced features, over all the species, such as uh, enhanced, vision, speech development. But that speech development was observed in erectors, even habilis, but more in sapiens. And but let me, before I forget, one thing about the Neanderthalensis is that because of their nature, they believe in afterlife. That's, yes, Neanderthal, they believe in afterlife. They also practice some rituals such as burying their dead and all that. So likewise sapiens, so sapiens, uh, uh, they are more of man. That's our species now. Okay, because like 170,000 years ago, that was when they began, putting on cloth. 170,000 years ago, they were putting on cloth. Then, like 100,000 years ago, that was when they noticed the use of jewelries and cosmetic in this particular species, sapiens. And of course uh, they migrated out of Africa immensely. Like 60,000 years ago, that was when they observed needles needles in them, and that means they began to sew clothing in them. And also, uh, this particular species, uh, they traveled a lot. In fact, like 50,000 years ago, they they traveled out of Africa to Australia, where they were genetically isolated and became the Aborigines. Okay, and like 40,000 years ago, they also traveled out to Asia, to Japan, and all that. In fact, genetic evidence shows that like 20 to 15,000 years ago, that was when they migrated to America. Okay, and all that. But the modern man, Homo sapiens, the modern man, um, just like Homo sapiens, but just that they practice agriculture, and domestication, something that is not common, or that the feature that cannot be found in other species. They practice that. And also, if you take a look at the length of our leg compared to our arm, so the leg uh, is more uh, is longer than the arm. Okay, so I'm out of time already. So the theory of origin of man. So this the following environmental theories were proposed to explain the origin of man, as well as bipedalism. The first, let me quickly run through this theory. The savanna hypothesis. The savanna hypothesis assumes that is a theory that assumes that hominid, were forced to descend from the trees and adapted to life on the savanna. Okay, of course, facilitated by walking erect on 2 feet. Okay, is also referred to as heredity hypothesis, because the increased heredity and the expansion of savanna was noted to be the major driver of human hominid. Okay, the turnover pulse hypothesis. This hypothesis assumes that um, uh, acute climate shift, yes, acute climate shift drove human hominid, human evolution. That is acute. So it's a way, is a way of saying that, oh, okay, when in the case of environmental destruction, the generalist species will survive, while the specialist will be wiped out or will be more extinct because they cannot cope. They won't be able to cope. So as a result, you see the general species more, confined and more, confined in an area. So so that is allopatric speciation. So you can read more on that. Also, the variability selection hypothesis. Okay, this hypothesis stresses the role of environmental unpredictability in selecting for the behavioral or ecological flexibility. Okay, also the red queen hypothesis. Well, this hypothesis or that sympatric evolution, it's underlying the need for continued adaptation. Yes, in order to maintain fitness among the co-evolving system. Okay. Also, the social brain hypothesis is also one of the origin of the theory of the origin of man. The social brain hypothesis. This hypothesis believe that or it assumes that enhanced, or well-developed brain cognitive is required for an hominid to have a strong influence on a group or tribes of hominid and control the distribution of resources. Also, the post-climate variability framework is also part of this is a development of the variability selection hypothesis, but just that now incorporates the some paleo-environmental reconstruction and the role of stability and instability. So it's an hypothesis that highlight the role of extreme short climatic variability or climate variability in Eastern Africa in hominid evolution. So this I just take you through this theory, so you see that in your manual. So, but of all this now, we don't these evidences, all these theories. That the question is, man, do we really evolve from ape-like creation or what? Are they? Well, if they had known the nature of man, probably they wouldn't have made that particular claim on the origin of man. So the nature of man, from the of Charles Darwin, when Charles Darwin published his books, one of the two of his books, on the origin of species and the descent of man. Immediately after that, what happened, and that was when the issue of racism, man began to, they were searching for the master race, the superiority, and because of that, they were looking at the upper level, the lower level, and we all know what happened during World War, how that led Germany, to the World War I and all that. So also, when you take a look at the from the Bible, Bible made us understand that humans are tripartite in nature. We have body, soul, and spirit. The body harbors the body senses. The soul harbors the will, intuition. The will, the mind. Yes, the soul harbors the will, mind, emotion. While the spirit harbors the intuition, the conscience, and the communion with God. Conscience in its purest form is to guide, lead man to differentiate what is right from what is wrong. But because the conscience has been polluted. Yes, the conscience has been polluted, and as a result, there will be a kind of a disconnection or a disconnect, between man and God. So there's no way for a man to communicate with God, and when that happens, man begins to give credit to unnecessary things rather than give credit to God as the creator, as the creator of life, creator of everything. So when the spirit, when the conscience is polluted, and man fails to recognize that God actually created everything, so they begin to give credit to the to unnecessary things because of the pollution and because of lack of communication with God, lack of communion and all that. So they give credit to other things rather than to give credit to God as the creator of life, including man. Okay. Thank you for listening.